Hey, Dream City Church, it's Sid Cota, the campus pastor of the White Mountains. What a privilege it is to be able to speak to you today in this season of hope that we as a church are believing, pressing into. And I just want to encourage you with the word. I pray that it inspires you and that it also challenges you. You know what I love about the Dream City Church family is that regardless of the circumstances or the crisis that we may be facing, that we know that our God is greater. Our God is able. And I'm just so encouraged to be part of this family. And so today, I want to share with you a word very simply titled, Jesus the Storm Breaker. Because regardless of whatever storm we might be facing at a global level or even personally, I believe Jesus he's more than able to break into any storm and bring peace to us. So I want to take you to an account recorded in the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew chapter 8, verses 23 to 27. The disciple of Jesus, Matthew, records an incredible account of when Jesus and the disciples were caught in a storm. I bet if you were to go in your neighborhood and ask a few of your neighbors if it feels like nationally we've been caught in a storm, most would say, yes, it does feel that way. And so what's incredible about this biblical account is we see that Jesus and the disciples are caught in the same storm. The same elements of the winds and the waves are factoring in the storm, but there were two different responses. There was the posture of Jesus, who I believe was just resting in God's goodness. And then there was the panic of the disciples. Now, let me ask you this question here. In the midst of what we've been going through, which response, the posture of Jesus or the panic of the disciples, best describes you? It's an incredible account. We look into the account, and as the storm began to pick up, the disciples became worried for their life. And once they became fearful of losing their life, they began to look for Jesus, and they found Jesus sleeping. And so they woke him up, and they said, "Master, what are you doing? We're going to drown. We're going to lose our life." And here's what I find so incredible and fascinating about this account. That in the middle of the storm, not only was Jesus resting, but before he spoke to the winds and the waves, in essence, he rebuked the winds and the waves, he spoke to the hearts of his disciples. Before he addressed the exterior storm that was taking place, I believe he spoke and addressed the storm that was taking place within the disciples. In fact, if you look at the account in verse 26, Jesus says this after they woke him up. "Why are you so afraid? Why do you have so little faith?" Yes, Jesus brought the fear and faith conversation to the table. In fact, I believe what Jesus was saying to his disciples in this moment is, why is there such a presence of fear and absence of faith? And I can guarantee you this, anytime that fear rises at a level that is greater than faith, not only will you have a storm outside, but you're going to have a greater storm within. And so Jesus, before he speaks to the winds and the waves, he speaks to the heart of his disciples. And he addresses the issues that are beginning to rise to the top of the surface. So let me ask you this question. In this unprecedented time that we're in, that we're all trying to navigate through, what are the issues that have been arising, coming to the surface in your heart and in your mind? Maybe they're issues of fear, maybe issues of worry or control, or where my provision's going to come from. And I want to encourage you with this, that if you allow Jesus to speak to you, that you too, as the disciples did, you can experience the peace of Jesus. I love how in the account of the Gospel of Mark, we hear the famous words of Jesus speaking to the storm and saying, "Peace, be still." So I want to encourage you and challenge you Dream City Church with this practical step is that in these areas that have been rising to the top, maybe in a place of fear or worry, I want you to declare the same words that Jesus declared in that storm. And those are the words of peace. If maybe you find your mind wandering or worrying, begin to declare, Lord, bring your peace, your presence of peace, because Jesus, you are the Prince of Peace. Bring your presence of peace into my mind or into my family. Maybe in this moment there's been tensions in your family. God, would your peace reside in my family? For some of you that are still working hard in the workplace and tensions are rising, I want to challenge you with this practical step. Every day that you go into that workplace, begin to declare God's peace. Begin to declare God's peace in your workplace or wherever it might be. And after Jesus addressed the issues that I believe were at the center of the disciples, he did speak to the winds and the waves. And it says in the account of verse 27 that it all came to a calm. And we see Jesus as the storm breaker. In fact, in verse 27, it says that the disciples were amazed. And they asked this question, who is this man? I believe that if you declare peace into your life and to the spheres of influence that you have, that not only will you experience Jesus as the storm breaker, but you give opportunity for others to experience true peace and true hope. Isn't it interesting that some of the disciples were seasoned fishermen? They understood the winds and the waves. They grew up being able to read it. But the storm that they were caught in was by all accounts, it's as bad as it gets. And even they were unable to navigate during that time. But it wasn't until the storm got heavier and began to rise that they began to look for Jesus. And I believe that in this time, even in light of what we are walking through, that people, they may not say the words Jesus, but they're looking for peace. They're looking for hope. And as you begin to live out the example of resting in God's goodness, you can be that vessel. You can be that light to show them true peace and true hope during this time. And so not only can you experience Jesus as the storm breaker, but there is a world out there that is looking for hope. And my prayer is this, that they would also see Jesus as the storm breaker. Dream City Church, I love you guys. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak into your life. Know that regardless of whatever is going on, that our God is able, that our God is greater, and he is the storm breaker. Experience his peace today. God bless you.